Well, as you can see, I have a webcam. Rejoice, people! Rejoice, people of the world! Rejoice, world! I have a webcam! Now that was awesome. So now I'm in prison. So yeah, that's the gist of it. Basically, I'm in prison now. Now you might be asking yourself, well, now why is the great and amazing Daniel Taylor in prison? Well, it's pretty bogus, but see, they charged me with a couple of charges. I mean, they charged me with murder, theft, attempted murder, breaking the laws of time, and of course, making some of the worst YouTube videos ever to blight the internet. I don't know, I don't think the Tuga films were that bad, but apparently they were enough to put me in here. But, you know, it's not all bad. I mean, hey, I got this new webcam, this new computer in here, I got an HD television, and access to all the movies and television that I really want. Now, how did I get all this stuff, you're probably wondering? Well, it's because I snitched on people. A lot of people. I mean, a lot of people. I mean, if they ever found out that it was me telling the war and all that information about them, I would basically be shanked to death in the shower. We're watching a lot of movies, though. Good movies, you know. Some of my favorites. Some of the old classics. You know what? Let's talk about that. I'm going to talk to you guys about my top 12 favorite movies of all time. And when I'm done, how about all of you tell me what your favorite movies of all time are? It'll be fun. So, here we go. Let's start off with number 12. Christmas Carol, the musical. Now let me just get started by saying that this is not a good movie. Not in the traditional sense anyway. This movie is just awful. It's got to have one of the worst Scrooges in it I've ever seen, played by Kelsey Grammer, one of my all time. I mean, if you think that Kelsey Grammer, a great actor, is capable of subtlety at all in this movie, you are going to be severely disappointed. And aside from that, we get the honor of seeing Jason Alexander, that's right, that guy from Seinfeld, starring as, I guess, something that came out of a Tim Burton movie. This whole sequence is just bizarre, and the dark tone just doesn't match the rest of the film. And the music, while some of it being very good, is more hit and miss. It's more of a, it's good at some points, but tends to go on too long or too short. Also, they repeat the same song several times in the film, and it's cheesy and it's over the top. But I stinking love it. Oh my goodness, this movie, I watch it every year. It's one of the corniest movies I've ever seen in my life, and I stinking love it. I watch it every Christmas because it seems to get me in the Christmas mood. And it's one of those movies that's just so bad it's good. And if other people didn't like it, I would totally understand that, because like I said, it's not a good movie, but I enjoy it so much. It's definitely one of my favorite movies, and that's why I had to put it on the number 12 spot, because I just, frankly, I feel bad if I didn't put it on my top 12 list.
That woman deserves her revenge. And we deserve to die.
Kill Bill, Volumes 1 and 2. Now you might be thinking I'm cheating by putting two movies in one slot, but they're the same movie. They're cut into two parts, but Kill Bill is one movie and one story. So that's why I'm cheating maybe a little bit by putting it into one movie slot. But let me just start off by saying this movie is awesome. It's awesome on so many levels. It's awesome on the fact that it doesn't even really need a story. It's just confident enough that just having a girl out for revenge, slaughtering countless people, is good enough for two movies, and it succeeds. It is incredible. It's over the top acting mixed with its really good underacting. It's just something you have to see to believe, and it's really a credit to Tarantino, the movie's director, of just how well he can mix and match so many different styles from so many different movies that he enjoyed when he was growing up and even as an adult. And that really reflects in his work by how many different themes and different tones that the movie takes. Also, it's really neat in the way that it's set up. In the first movie, it's taken to Eastern culture, into more of a Japanese kind of setting. It has all that Japanese style, really over-the-top action. Whereas Volume 2 takes place in the West, takes place in this very old exploitation kind of movie, where it's very story-oriented, which is a lot different than the other film. Where the first film focuses so much on its ultra-violence, the second film only has, I can remember, maybe two, maybe three actual full-out action scenes, and that's if you're counting the final fight with Bill at the very end. Oh, and my favorite part of all the movies is at the very end, in the last scene, right before the climax, Bill rambles about Superman for a full scene. Just, out of nowhere, just starts talking about Superman, and it just adds to the character and just makes him seem so much more like an actual person. In reality, somebody that evil would have to be pretty deranged, and I think that's really reflected in this nonsensical sequence where he talks about Superman for an entire scene. Well, whether you like it or not, I like it, and it's definitely one of my favorites and well earns its spot in number 11. A series of unfortunate events. You know, this was a movie that surprised me. It went nowhere. It won no awards, never warranted a sequel or a spin-off television show, whereas other movies that were, in my opinion, a lot worse actually did win more awards, and I just don't get it. I think this is one of Jim Carrey's best films he's ever done, and not because he's necessarily the most funny, but he's the best acting in a children's movie that I've ever seen. Even better than Mr. Popper's Penguins. Sarcasm definitely intended. Anyway, Jim Carrey's acting, it actually has a little bit of a net on it, if I can say it like that. It's like he's working to kind of underplay his own character, and I really like that. Sometimes he's over the top, but then he brings it back down, and sometimes doing that actually adds to the fact that he's a very deranged character, and actually makes him a little bit frightening at scenes. And there was times in this movie I wanted to punch the guy. I actually felt like that guy needs to get punched right in the face. So care what happens to these kids, and the kids do an awesome job as well. Emily Browning does a fantastic job portraying her character, and the kids do a really good job too. Even the baby, I never felt like the baby wasn't part of the story, which I thought was very, very good for a character that never really talks like in a lot of movies. They never really animated the mouth. She was a pretty active part and managed to even get a few laughs out of me in a couple lines she had. Well, one unfortunate event was that this movie never really warranted a sequel, but it's still one of my favorite and well earned its number 10 slot. The Hunchback of Notre Dame. You know, this is another one of those underrated movies. When this movie first came out, critical reaction was, meh. And when I was a kid, I hated this movie. It was boring, it was slow, I didn't know what was going on, and it just wasn't magical. Not in the sense that some of the other Disney classics were, like The Little Mermaid, Beauty and the Beast, and Aladdin. They all had a sense of magic and wonder, and this movie really didn't capture that for me when I was a kid. And for that reason, I put the VHS in the very back of my very messed up television stand and never watched it again. Until 2 years ago, when I was actually going through and rewatching all the old Disney films. And when I watched this movie a second time, now as an adult, I gotta tell you, I really loved it. This movie is incredible, and the fact that it has some of the best written just themes that I think I've seen in a Disney movie. And the problem, as opposed to other movies from Disney and their themes, is they're underplayed in this movie. I know, shock, right? I mean, there's actually subtlety in a Disney movie? Yeah, in this one there is. And it's great. But I think the thing that really makes the movie for me is the villain, Frollo. This guy is one of the baddest baddies you will ever see in a Disney movie. In the first scene of the movie, he murders two guys, puts another guy in jail, murders a woman, and then tries to kill her baby. And this guy is supposed to be a Christian. Yeah. And he's totally cool with that. Frollo is definitely one of the most bad guys you'll ever see, and definitely one of the most bizarre villains. He spends most of the movie trying to get this gypsy woman that he kind of has this thing for, and he says that if she won't have him, he'll burn her alive in the city square. Yeah. Yeah, you know, for kids. Anyway, the gargoyles are the only characters that I really despise, and they feel out of place in this movie. You see these kind of characters in all of Disney's movies, where they're trying to appeal to the family demographic, so you know, they'll have the good story, the good songs, but then they'll have these characters in there that are clearly just put there for the kids, and just there to be comic relief. But these gargoyles are just terrible at it, and they really take you out of the movie's really more grown-up story and grown-up style of storytelling. Well, it's one of my favorite movies now, and it well deserves its place on my list of favorite movies, The Hunchback of Notre Dame. Pulp Fiction. What can I say about this except Samuel Jackson is awesome.
Hamburgers, the cornerstone of any nutritious breakfast. Big Kahuna Burger, that's that Hawaiian burger joint. I hear they got some tasty burgers. I ain't never had one myself. How are they? They're good. You mind if I try one of yours? This is yours here, right? Mm-hmm. This is a tasty burger.
We got into this thing with the best intentions, really. I never...
Oh, I'm sorry. Did I break your concentration?
But there's a lot more going for the movie besides just awesome one-liners from Samuel Jackson. It's also a unique way of telling the story, how it's all disjointed and kind of put together, yet all connected. And I never really seen that in a movie before I saw this one. I'm not sure if it's ever really been done in the same way before this movie came out. And I thought it was a very brilliant way to tell the story. So what else can I really say about it except Samuel Jackson's awesome?
You read the Bible, Brett? Yes. Oh, there's this passage I got memorized. Sort of fits this occasion. Ezekiel 25:17. The path of the righteous man is beset on all sides by the iniquities of the selfish and the tyranny of evil men. Blessed is he who in the name of charity and goodwill shepherds the weak through the valley of darkness. For he is truly his brother's keeper and the finder of lost children. And I will strike down upon thee with great vengeance and furious anger those who attempt to poison and destroy my brothers. And you will know my name is the Lord when I lay my vengeance upon thee.
The Lion King. Yes, another Disney animated film makes it onto my list. I stinking love this movie. And why do I love this movie? Well, it's Hamlet with lions.
In the great circle of life.
Of course! Can you think of a better premise for a movie? I propose that you cannot. Also, it has several awesome songs in it. When I try to think back on past Disney movies and I try to think of great songs, you know, I'll think of maybe one or two from an old Disney movie that I really find memorable. Whereas The Lion King, basically every song in that movie is iconic and memorable, and people are still singing it. Heck, I have a Disney CD and most of the songs on that are from The Lion King. It just had so many great songs, and it also had a great villain, Scar. We actually named our dog Scar, not after the lion, just because, you know, had a scar on him. Thought you should know that. Anywho, and he has a pretty great song too. I can listen to that song all day. Even though he's not really singing it, he's more just speaking it. It's still a great song. And one more thing that I can say that I really love about this movie is Mufasa's death. I know that's pretty dark, right? I think it's the best death done in Disney because it's a death that's foreshadowed. It's part of the villain's plan, and the villain actually succeeds, making Scar a very legitimate and real threat. So many other Disney villains, they try to use their evil schemes, but they're always foiled. So they're never really that good or that dangerous. Scar actually accomplished his goal. He actually did kill Mufasa, his brother, and usurp his throne, which is fascinating to me that they actually did that in a Disney movie. And also, his death had consequences. It wasn't just shrugged off. It was something that stuck with Simba and drove him away from his home and to the point of almost dying. The point where he almost didn't even want to live anymore. And that is a powerful death, especially in a kid's movie. But it's handled well, and his death is avenged in the end. So in the end, it does have a happy ending, and it wasn't there just to be a sad moment like in other movies. And that is why I like The Lion King. The Dark Knight. You know, when I think of The Dark Knight, there's one thing I believe that every single person thinks of immediately. Heath Ledger's Joker. Definitely one of the most terrifying, funny, and just most memorable villains of all time. And this portrayal in The Dark Knight is epic, memorable, and terrifying. He captures a side of the Joker that I don't think had really been shown, and it definitely had never been shown in live action film. A very realistic, very gritty sociopath who has no real desire for order or anything. He just wants to create chaos, just to show people how pointless trying to keep things in order really is. And it just makes for a very freaky character. He's never really scheming, never really plotting. He just kind of does and reacts, and whatever the good guys are basically, however they react basically determines his next move. He's basically doing whatever he feels like, and that's actually very scary for a villain. He just wants to create chaos, and that's all that he's trying to do. And also, this movie took superhero movies to somewhere I don't think they'd ever been taken before. I mean, up till here, they've they've tried to be serious, but even then they still were pretty hokey, and it was okay because, you know, they were just superhero movies. I think about the original Spider-Man trilogy. You know, there were times in that they had genuine moments of drama, and it did feel like an adult story. But then again, there were moments that were just downright just childish, but people were able to excuse them because it's just a superhero movie. But after this, I don't hear people saying that anymore. People don't say, oh, it's okay that the Dark Knight Rises doesn't make any sense at all and has plot holes you could drive the Batmobile through. It's just a superhero movie. People don't say that anymore. People actually judge superhero movies just as seriously as they would judge any other grown-up film. And I believe that it was The Dark Knight that really upped the ante, and it's definitely the best of Nolan's films. Superman 2. Zod.
You are the one they call president?
I am.
I see you are practiced in worshipping things that fly. Good. Rise before Zod. No. Kneel before Zod. You are not the president. No one who leads so many could possibly kneel so quickly.
I'm the man they're protecting. I'm the president. I'll kneel before you if it will save lives.
It will. Starting with your own.
What I do now, I do for the sake of the people of the world. But there is one man here on earth who will never kneel before you.
Who is this imbecile? Where is he?
I wish I knew. Oh, God.
Zod.
And that's it. That's why I love it, and that's why it's in my number 5 slot. Rurouni Kenshin, live action. Rurouni Kenshin has always been one of my favorite animes. It's got the strongest character that I've ever seen. He's almost incorruptible, and yet they still go through the entire struggle that he's going through in his own mind. Basically, Rurouni Kenshin is a wanderer who used to kill during the revolution, but has since sworn off killing. And in the television show, there were times where killing would have solved everything. All he had to do is just kill just one person, and he could prevent so much destruction and so much heartache for so many people. But even so, he refused to do it. Now, before you think this guy's a pansy, there's a really good reason. He doesn't just put bad guys in jail like so many other superheroes would. He actually turns them away from their own ways. And during the show, with every encounter that he has, the villains either end up taking their own lives or converting to the light side of the Force. Basically, Rurouni Kenshin is less in the Batman business, it is more in the religious business. I don't know if that's the best way to say it. But the actors they pick for the live action film are fantastic, and I love their cast. Their casts are so perfect. I mean, when I first heard that they were going to make a live action adaptation, I was frightened. I was ready to be disappointed. I thought, oh my goodness, they're going to make it all bright and colorful, and they're really going to try and make it all campy, and I was really concerned. But no, I mean they make it dark, but not overly dark, not Tim Burton dark, but to the level it feels very genuine, and it feels like a very real place. It feels like you're really in the 1800s in Tokyo, and they really capture a very realistic look on the story, and I was not expecting that. And the best way that this is accomplished is by the actors. The actors do a great job of portraying their characters while also downplaying the characters to a more realistic level. And the actors just do a great job. One other thing that I really liked is because it is an adaptation based on an anime, based on a manga, it really mixes it up, and I really liked it. I mean, they combine a lot of storylines together. You're seeing this a lot more in superhero movies, where they'll take different parts of different storylines, different comic lines, and they'll kind of combine it into one story, and I really like that. And this movie does it perfectly. They combine several different villains, bring them all together, put them on the same side, put a bunch of good guys, and they tie it all together in a really nice way. And it's great because they don't just retell what we've already seen in the anime. They put their own spin on it, and I really liked it. Also, it's been contracted for 2 more films. So in the future, I'm going to get to see 2 more sequels to this great movie based on a great anime, based on a great manga, and I can't wait. Highlander. You know, I stinking love this movie, and when I put it on my number 3 spot, I was trying to think of reasons why I like it so much, and honestly, I'm not sure. It's really not to say that it's not special or anything. It's just it was hard for me to say why. I was thinking, well, maybe it's the acting, like in other movies that I heard on this list. And I'm like, well, no, the acting's not that great. I thought, well, maybe it's the action, but even the action's not that great. Well, maybe it was the villain, but the villain really wasn't. So why do I like it so much? I don't know. I love this movie, and I can watch it over and over and over again. And if you know me, you know I've watched it over and over again. I quote it all the time. It's a great film, and it's a very bizarre film. It incarnates the 80s so well, and the whole film feels like it's shot like one large music video. It's a very bizarre style for the cinema.
I've done far worse than kill you. I've hurt you. And I wish to go on hurting you. I shall leave you as you left me, as you left her, marooned for all eternity, buried alive.
Star Trek II, Wrath of Khan. Yes, I know my geek is showing now. That fact that I had to put a Star Trek movie on my list just shows what a big dork I am. Well, I love this movie. And if you're wondering what I thought of Star Trek Into Darkness, it was okay. I was really with it up till about the last 20 minutes of the movie, which really ruined the film for me, just in their portrayal of some iconic moments from the Star Trek story that they use so flippantly and so disrespectfully that any hardcore fan like myself would just be absolutely angered by it. So, I do believe Benedict Cumberbatch did do a good job playing his version here, but this Khan, Ricardo Montalban, he is the man that I grew up acknowledging as Khan, and he does a great job. He's probably the most quotable villain of any movie I've ever seen, and that's including Star Wars. Every single line that this guy has, you could basically quote, even trying to imitate his awesome accent, even though you totally fail at it. It's basically, if one of the other reasons I really like it, one of the other reasons that I really like this film is the fact that it has no pointless scenes. Every single scene, every single shot, every single subplot all ties in together at the end, and it all runs together very well. It is a very well thought out, well planned, and well executed piece of cinema, and I believe that's one of the reasons that it's so remembered even today. Star Trek II, Wrath of Khan!
It was a mistake for you to accept promotion. Commanding a starship is your first best destiny. Anything else is a waste of material.
With a few.
Or the one.
Bury the lie. Bury the lie.
The Godfather Part 2. This is a movie that I think a lot of younger people of my age, really need to see this movie. Everybody's heard of The Godfather, but nobody really knows anything about it besides the line, "an offer he can't refuse," and that's been about. But it's definitely one of the best movies I've ever seen in my life, and it's definitely my favorite movie. It's the story of an aging patriarch of an organized crime dynasty who transfers control of his empire to his reluctant son Michael, who doesn't want to be in control. In the second film, it shows the early life of his father in the 1920s, when he first comes to the United States and begins to build his own crime empire. But it also takes place in the future after the first film, and it shows how Michael expands and tightens his grip on his crime syndicate, stretching from Lake Tahoe, Nevada to pre-revolution 1958 Cuba. It does a great job of continuing the story while also improving the story of the first one. Yeah, a sequel that makes the first movie even more enjoyable. I've never seen another movie do that. And the fact that the two films are interlocked is just absolutely astounding to me. Both of them can be watched as standalone films, but together they weave an even grander story. A story of crime, violence, love, and most of all, a story about family. And that's why The Godfather Part 2 is my #1 favorite movie. And those are my top 12 favorite movies. I hope you enjoyed my list, and I hope you were able to see that you enjoyed. I look forward to seeing your guys' videos and seeing what your guys' favorite movies are. Well, till next time I can upload another video, this is Dan saying good night.